Okay, everybody, welcome to the latest episode of All Too Real 2. My name is Michael E. Cullen II, and with me, as always, is my co-host...
Matthew Teela Orku Haas.
Okay. Yeah. And joining us today for this special Masters of the Universe Revelation episode is Ryan Moore.
Hi, everybody.
So, first off, Ryan, before we get started, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself so people know?
Alrighty. Well, my name's Ryan Moore. I'm a photographer, filmmaker, kind of filmmaker, I should say, video essayist. I just did a video a few months back on Masters of the Universe Revelation in regards to toxic fandom. The way I see it, you guys are saving me a video right now because that's going to be another half-hour video I don't have time for. And more recently, I was featured as a featured extra in Vanessa Lern's A Story Worth Living movie, which is absolutely fantastic. If you haven't seen it yet, see it.
Yes.
And I also like talking about movies as well.
Yeah,
My social medias are all across Facebook. My social medias are all at Newrealms Media. I even broke down and got a TikTok.
Yeah, we did that recently too.
Yeah,
we got an all too real to TikTok. We still haven't figured out what we're doing with it, but we'll figure this out.
Same.
I do recommend. I haven't yet to see it, but Vanessa Leonard is an awesome person, a good friend of mine too, and definitely check out her film. It's, I'm sure, very much worth watching. So, yeah, and I hope to see it soon. Unfortunately, during her premieres, I was busy both nights, so I couldn't make it. So, had a death in the family and things of that nature. But, anyways, let's get started here. What were your thoughts? First off, I'll start with you, Ryan, on the second half of Masters of the Universe Revelation.
The second half of Masters of the Universe Revelation was what I wanted The Rise of Skywalker to be, because The Rise of Skywalker to me was just pure pandering fan service, whereas Part 2 of Masters of the Universe Revelation actually balanced that fan service, but also continued this very compelling story Part 1 set up.
Yeah, definitely. I thought it was definitely what I wanted after watching the first half. I think this is basically, and it also basically was a big fuck you to all the people that hated the first part, in my opinion. But they still are, toxic as fuck. So, anyway, so what do you think?
For me, that's not really the case.
Yeah.
That's not really the case with me. Like, this was what everything these assholes wanted, and they're still looking for ways to bitch about it.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. It should be a fuck you to them, but they're unfortunately, just toxic incel fanboys who decide that they want to, hate anything that has women in it.
I'll see that small correction. It's okay if there's women in it. They just have to be completely sexual objects for their own desire. So, small correction.
Exactly.
Yes.
And even that, Teela is extremely submissive. Like, she apologizes to the king. She's giving them this show's giving these fanboys what they want.
Yes.
Yeah, I know. They just can't be pleased. That's what it is. They just can't be pleased.
And it's like, oh my god. And me sitting here thinking, okay, I wasn't the biggest HeMan fan. I thought it was okay at best when I was a kid. I was more G.I. Joe, Transformers, Ghostbusters as a kid. But here I am watching this as an adult. I'm like, holy shit, this is actually really good. I'm liking where this is going. And you have these fuck nuggets just trashing this shit for no reason, whereas everything tracks from the first episode. I mean, for fuck's sake, it's Teela who rescues He-Man.
Yeah.
If this were what the alt-right thinks this show is, Teela would have left He-Man dying.
Exactly, and like all the men would have been killed, and it would have been a completely woman show. But
that's the thing, though. Teela saved He-Man, so it's the woman who saved the man, and they don't like that. So it's got to be, for me too, the same thing. I wasn't really into He-Man when I was a kid. It was kind of a little bit before my time, so it wasn't really my thing. So it's kind of just, I came to this from a just completely just perspective of not really having any kind of opinion one way or the other. But it just does seem like there's this, for one thing with YouTube and stuff, everything's about how many views you can get, and the people just sort of test out, like if I say something, well, how many views will I get if I say this? And they start just collecting data for themselves to see how much they can grow their channel. So I don't even know if some of these people even really believe what they're saying, or if they're just doing it because they can make money off of it. And maybe some people get to the point where they start believing their own con. I don't know, but
it's this whole toxic fandom thing. It doesn't matter what it is. There's going to be assholes out there who dislike it, and it's annoying as fuck. Like, I mean, I just watched the live action Cowboy Bebop, which Netflix also produced. Same toxic bullshit. People are pissed off because it's implied that one of the characters is a lesbian who wasn't in the original. And
even then, I only watched the first episode of that live action Cowboy Bebop because I really don't have time for it.
Yeah.
But I thought the pilot episode was fine.
Yeah.
I wasn't like, oh my god, this is the worst thing ever.
Yeah.
Like, I sat through Music earlier this year, which features a nonverbal autistic girl going full, special.
Yeah.
It's like, no, Cowboy Bebop is not the worst thing ever.
Yeah, it's the whole, I don't know, it's so sad, like, and it doesn't matter what it is, it's Cowboy Bebop, it's Masters, it's whatever, people are just going to be pissed because it's not exactly what they wanted, and unfortunately, my thing is like, if you want something, go out and make it, I mean, I'm not saying that it's cheap or easy to do, but still, write something, like a quote I shared the other day from Taika Waititi, where it's basically like the like something, I'm paraphrasing here, like the worst written script is better than any amazing unwritten script. So it's like,
and even then, Alan Oppenheimer himself says at the very opening of Part 2, Episode 1, Guardians of Grayskull all. He-Man is nowhere near the title of the show. Everyone's a master of the universe on that show.
Yeah. And it's like the diversion from the original, I mean, the new He-Man and Masters of the Universe CGI animated show, which I've only watched part of one episode.
I watched 2 episodes of that and I fucking hated it.
Yeah, and my thing about that is I don't understand why they're not more upset about that.
Yeah. It's so dumbed down, it's so idiotic. It's like, why am I even watching this other than research purposes?
Yeah, and I mean, I know that's more aimed at like a new generation of kids. Yeah. And I'm fine with that. If that's what they want to love and they like it, cool. I mean, because my thing is I'm not the type of person. My main thing that I have issues with is it's like, go ahead and dislike whatever you dislike, like whatever you like. Just don't attack people for doing the opposite.
Yeah.
Can I just make a point here about how freaking awesome Skeletor looked when he had the sword of power? I mean,
oh yeah,
badass, man. Like when I was a kid, like my brother would watch He-Man here and there. And Skeletor always just seemed like a dork, just goofy, like not really scary at all, And now he's got this green flame going on and all this stuff.
Yeah, and he looks fucking intimidating as hell too.
Yeah, the whole Skele God or whatever they want to call him.
Yeah.
That I mean, that's kind of what, I mean, my thing is that's what I think that should have satisfied the fans of the original. I was a fan of the original when I was a kid. I never revered it as this awesome thing, but I did have a bunch of action figures as a kid. Went and saw the Masters of the Universe movie with Dolph Lundgren in theaters. Which I also want to say rest in peace to my cousin-in-law Roy Leach, who took me to see that. He just passed away a couple weeks ago. Yeah, but
sorry for your loss.
No problem. Thank you. Yeah, but it was just it. I mean, that movie sucked, but at the time when I was a kid, I thought it was awesome. Yeah,
exactly.
He took me to see it, and then we went and he got me an action figure after the show. It was awesome. But But anyways, the show, it's in my opinion what I think adult fans of the original should want. But unfortunately there's too many of these people that are very vocal, and I'm sure there are a lot of people that do love the show. They're just, it's like a lot of times like if you go on, like I've said before, like, if you read Yelp reviews for restaurants, most of the time they're talking about how bad the restaurant is. There's not that many people on there talking about how great a restaurant is.
Yeah.
Even in my He's All That review, I made it a point to praise Matthew Lillard clearly not giving a fuck. Yeah. Like, he was only there for half an hour. He was clearly not giving a fuck, and I don't blame him.
Yeah.
I gave that a no-star review.
Yeah. Yeah, we had fun covering that one, too. That is definitely worth a watch if you want to watch something to make fun of.
It's definitely a movie.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm sitting there watching Acid Ray, and I had Charlie St. Joan. I was going to ask her to twerk at the end of my video, but then she posted she was sick. I was like, what can I do? And I said Charlie an audio file in my sign off, and I had her lip sync it, and it's my voice to her lip syncing it. Because I wanted to make that valid point of why the fuck is this girl famous?
Yeah. I don't get it. I really don't. But anyway, so but my thing is this: go ahead and like her if you want. That's fine.
Yeah.
So anyways, let's get into this. So we don't have to break down every episode unless you guys want to. Whatever you want to do. What were the key points of this second half that you guys wanted to cover here and talk about?
For starters, how badass Prince Adam is in Part 2, Episode 1. He's bleeding, near death, and he's standing up to Skeletor. I thought that was cool as hell, and that's what I think these people would want, and they're still trashing it.
Yeah. It's the whole bravery thing. I mean, it kind of reminds me of, you see a lot of movies like this where the person is clearly going to lose the fight, but they still stand up anyway, and, people used to love that kind of thing, like with, for example, Captain America versus Thanos. His shield pretty much busted into bits. He's got wounds all over his body. Everyone knows he's gonna lose the fight if he even tries to stand up to Thanos one more time. But it's like the end of the hero's journey, and then of course the cavalry comes, and the final battle begins, that whole thing. But I've said this before on many occasions that there's been this shift, I'd say probably within the last 5, 6, maybe even 7 years, where these people used to identify with the good guys in the movies, even though they were objectively the bad guys in real life, but they thought, or they saw themselves at least as the good guys. But then there was a shift that started happening about 7 years ago where they're just like, no, we openly identify as the bad guys, and we're okay with that. Yeah. So I think that shit is happening now where it's like, oh, Prince Adam's a pussy, look at him. He's standing up to Skelegod. We identify with Skelegod, so because we're the villains of the story, so...
and there's some villains you can clearly identify with, that you get their angles. Like, for example, Killmonger from Black Panther. You totally get where he's coming from.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely, I mean, there's... Because, I mean, the best villains don't see themselves as the villain.
Yeah.
And, it's just because that's the best way to play a villain in a movie is you play yourself as the hero. I've played a couple villains in short films and other things, and that's how I always viewed it, where whatever I'm doing is right. Even if it's completely asinine and stupid. But, it's just so freaking, I mean, I know we've done several things, and I want to do like more episodes about toxic fandom because this freaking it's just so fucking annoying.
Like I said, you guys are saving me a video because I really don't have time to do a half-hour video saying I fucking told you guys to be patient.
Yes.
Right.
In my first video, I made a point to end it on Teela saying it's called jumping to conclusions, and people who usually do that are usually wrong. And guess what? All these people jump to conclusions. Guess what? They're fucking wrong.
Yeah, I think that episode 2 probably was almost like an FU because not only do we see Adam become HeMan again, but he becomes like Hulkman, basically.
Yeah.
Just a complete rage
and
monster.
It's fucking badass, too.
I mean, like, he has no strategy. He's just sitting there pounding away at Skeletor with, like, it doesn't matter. He's got no magic. He's just slamming him with his fist. I mean, it's just insane.
That logic, per DC Gamer's logic, He-Man's told Mary Sue because he summoned the power without a sword.
Yeah,
right.
But he's basically become them. He's become the incels because it's basically like,
yeah.
I mean, like, and see, I think I said something about that in our first episode. I think I said, what would happen if he didn't have a sword? Could he still call the power down? And apparently he can.
Yeah.
Just there's no conduit. It's just power without any kind of. Yeah, like I said, no reason behind it. Just like strength and.
Well, I think
power.
It just depends on who it is because the thing is, it's like if you're like Adam, you're basically a pure of heart person who basically. Can, and has the power within him from all the years of being He-Man. Yeah. That I think that basically created the aspect that he could actually just bring down the power, but the sword was kind of like the filter that made him not just a savage. So, yeah.
And in episode 2, like, Teela is such a man-hater that she's trying to rescue He-Man, apologizes to the king for her actions from the part 1.
But you have to understand, Ryan, she's got half of her head shaved on the side, and that automatically means she hates men and is a man. As
exactly. And towards the end of the film, she becomes sexy. And again, they're still complaining.
Well, it's because she's powerful now. She's a sorcerer.
Yeah, and she's a Mary Sue.
You're not allowed. Yeah, you're not allowed to. You're not allowed to have stories of. Because that's. I know we keep going back on this because they irritate me so much, but it really comes down to the idea that they are deeply, deeply insecure individuals, and they project their own insecurities onto the shows that they watch, and it kind of reminds me of like a guy who walks into a bar and he screams, "I'm not gay, everyone!" And it's like, what? No.
Earlier today, Matt, let me go back to you on that. Earlier today, I watched this dude that looks like he would host like an IPA review channel talk about how because Hawkeye is tied to a unicorn, it's emasculating him secretly. I'm like, bro, look at you. You look like you have an opinion on IPA. Shut the fuck up.
Wow.
It's I don't know. I mean, I think if anything, this second half has definitely answered all of the problems and the suggestions, but like I said, they're just jumping to conclusions and want to be. It's people want to be angry.
Yeah,
they just don't know where to focus it. Sometimes, in my opinion, and it's like I'm not trying to defend these people, but I think a lot of times they've got this anger about other things in the world, but they're like, hey, let's attack some kind of intellectual property from my childhood that isn't exactly like it was when I was a child. Mm-hmm. Or like, let's attack, music or whatever, like let's attack, Little Nas X or somebody, you know what I mean? They decide that they're going to just lash out at things that don't really affect them in their lives.
They just want to lash out at what the zeitgeist is going on because they're leaving them behind.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it's nothing. I mean, the thing is, it's like, it's I mean, the whole idea of being a progressive person is also the whole idea of moving forward in the world. And I mean, it's why we had like a president whose slogan was "Make America Great Again," which is the stupidest fucking slogan ever.
And I'm a very right of center guy, and even I'm like, shut the fuck up.
Yeah, because I mean, it's basically like his idea was like, make America great again. That's like, let's make the internet dial up again. It doesn't make sense because if you want to make things great, you got to kind of move forward in the world because you can't go backwards, because if you're going backwards, you're kind of just, reliving your mistakes from the past. And that's why something like, I mean, just bringing it back to HeMan and I mean, in Masters of the Universe, I should say, is the fact that we're moving forward with this storytelling, because if you wanted the same exact things, they still exist. They're probably on your shelf in a DVD if you really love them.
I found a whole block of episodes of Masters of the Universe on YouTube for research.
Yeah.
I mean, and even then, the original cartoon was woke as fuck in terms of behind the scenes with female writers and directors and all that. Like, the original context is woke. It's like how people complain about Candyman 2021, pretending that the 1992 film wasn't already woke as fuck.
Yeah.
It's just Candyman 1992 centers around an interracial relationship that was doomed.
Wow.
And gentrification. And 2021 kind of repeats that.
I have yet to see the new one, but I really want to.
It's really good.
Is it? Yeah.
I think that's a really good point.
I gave it a 4 out of 5.
Oh, yeah. I think it's a really good point that you made that. I think a lot of like the stuff that we watched when we were younger, I think we just missed all the nuances that those shows and movies had because we didn't really know about that at the time. So they might just be remembering like the part that they remember, not like all the nuances that like, well, you actually do think about that. It's like, yeah, they just kind of did have this thing going on with this, female character, and maybe you just didn't really understand the dynamics back then, like gender dynamics and all that stuff. So because you were just like a little kid, so. But they're like, no, I remember the swords and the explosions and, and by the way, the animation, though, in the last 2 episodes of this second half were, like, really amazing.
God tier.
Oh, I mean, that was, like, ridiculous.
That even the Geeks and Gamers people are like, yeah, the animation's gorgeous, but I'm going to shit on this completely. Like, but yeah, let's talk about this as a whole because
we need to focus on these assholes.
Yeah,
I'm kind of done.
Yeah. So, basically, okay. So the storyline goes where we're picking up where we left off, and we do have a flashback that Teela, as a baby, was giving her a magical marking before leaving. Before leaving her daughter and Man-at-Arms to assume her role as the sorceress.
Yeah.
So we basically find out there that the sorceress is Teela's mom.
Yeah. And there's that great line, this is a blessing, one that will manifest when she needs it the most. Like, basically fulfilling her destiny as a sorceress.
Yeah, and I mean, it's empowering to her, and of course they're gonna not like, people aren't gonna like the empowering to women. But the whole the thing is, it's like the sorceress is an empowering woman and has been since the beginning of the original show. But also, we go to the future. I mean, to the present, I should say, and we find Skeletor has killed the sorceress and transforms Evil-Lyn into her replacement.
Yeah.
He also imprisons
speaking of which,
Duncan.
I fucking love Evil-Lyn on this show.
Oh, I know.
To the point that I actually want to see Lena Headey play her in live action.
Oh, she should, definitely.
Yeah.
Like, I love her arc throughout this show, where she's like this anti-hero, then becomes the villain, and then towards the end realizes the error of her ways. And again, man-hating evil Teela says, and I quote, "The universe is chaos, it's hurt, it's death, but it is everything else too. It's beauty, it's love, it's life." That's not something someone selfish would say.
No.
Oh man, yeah, I do like her Evil-Lyn so much too, because like she starts off, just the underling the Skeletor, and then He-Man and Skeletor essentially kill each other, and then she starts, my whole thing was when she befriended Orku. That was a really interesting relationship.
Yeah, I love that dynamic.
And she starts becoming a better person, and all of a sudden Skeletor comes back. And you can see on her face when he kills the sorceress, she looks like mortified that he did.
Yeah, and I bring this up in my video too. Like, I love that look on her face.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, I mean, the best part of the first half was the whole Orko and Lynn relationship. In my opinion, the best performance in the original were those two. So
yeah,
the actors. And I mean, the thing is, it's funny. People call this the Teela show. I think it's the Lynn show.
It's the Evil-Lyn show.
Yeah.
Like, most of the character development, the core central arc is Evil-Lyn.
Yeah. So, I mean...
And then you get to the Gutter Rat, episode 3, which is absolutely fantastic. To the point where, going back to what we were talking about with villains and you understand their meanings, yeah, I legit get why she wants to destroy the entire universe. Her parents were going to straight up eat her.
Yeah, I was like... When I heard them say that, I was like, did they say they were going to eat her? Like, what
Thanos would be like, holy shit, yeah, go ahead and destroy the universe. Well, just stand back. Here's the Infinity Gauntlet.
I mean, it's like, eating somebody's a little too far. No.
Yeah, she was like Thanos, but more so just completely... It kind of reminded me, too, there's an episode of Doom Patrol. I'm not sure if you've seen that show or not.
I did a whole video on the first season. I fucking love that show.
It kind of reminds me of the D-Creator episode. That's what it reminded me of.
Yeah.
But just, completely shred the universe down to nothingness and just be the last person, essentially, to be killed. And, but yeah, the Gutter Rat, because she was like, she spent 20 years in the sewers just trying to survive. I mean, come on. And then... But then also, too, I know that, these people don't like any kind of, issues of, economics or whatever, but I didn't realize there was that much poverty in the kingdom. I thought this was supposed to be, a magical realm,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's something that they didn't really touch on much in the original series, but,
yeah,
it's, when that was coming out, that was a thing to sell toys to kids. So,
and even then, there's a great line in Gutter Rat. There's a great line in the Gutter Rat where she says, "I hate Skeletor, but I own my life." That's her arc. That's her arc in a nutshell on the show.
Yeah,
and that's the quote of an abuse person right there. Is, oh well, he took care of me, and And she does almost imply there was sexual abuse. She says physical abuse, but the way she says physical, it sounded like she wanted to say sexual, but since the show is still sort of somewhat maybe meant for all ages, maybe they didn't throw that word just because they knew that there was a wide array of people that they were kind of marketing this to. But the fact that she was, at one point, before she took the power, she seduced Skeletor and says, let's do something of I forgot what she said, your other one of your other favorite activities or whatever. I don't remember what she said.
And that's one of the more stupid scenes in the show. Like that's one of those instances where you can tell Kevin Smith clearly hit the bong. Whereas in part 1, you could tell he was sober as a judge because he's working with an IP. And in part 2, it's like he's clearly hitting the bong, like with Fisto, where he's saying, "I'd sure like to fist him."
Yeah, I saw that. I was like, what the fuck?
Dude, you were doing so well.
I know. Yeah, when I saw that, I was like, seriously, dude.
And that was definitely, that was one of the episodes that he co-wrote. It was the only one, I think, the only one in this batch of episodes that he had any writing, credit for. So.
Oh. Well, you think that they would like that though too, because it's vulgar and they love that, So, but yeah, anyway.
Yeah, but it's one of those things though. It's just there. You got to kind of do it. No, I mean, even if it is vulgar, it's kind of like
it's Kevin Smith.
No, but it's also like the fucking character's name is Fisto. I mean, I'm just saying. It's just,
exactly.
I know.
Which I mean. Man. I remember when, I was a kid that was a fucking, like, people were like, really? His name is Fisto? And the toy came out. I'm like, well. But I mean, but I mean, all of the characters, I mean, you had fucking Stinkor and shit. You got these characters that are just, the craziest fucking names.
And they're directly acknowledged. Like, there were a couple of, like, the lower tier toys in episode 4, and they were like, oh, they're just we're at the bottom of the barrel now.
Yeah.
I kind of like that little acknowledgement.
Yeah, where it was like, Goat Man and Pig Boy or something.
Boy, yeah.
Just like literal names too, like just describing what they are. Like, did they bring in a character that was Panther in the original show? Or was that a toy that was? I thought you said there was a character that was just a toy but wasn't in the actual.
Oh, there were several. Show. There were several in these that were originally just toys. I mean, like Stinkor was in the first half, but he was never in the original series. So they did bring him into like the like rebooted series that they had in the early 2000s. But he was never in the original HeMan and the Masters of the Universe.
Okay.
Yeah. And I still have a Stinkor, which I mentioned in our previous episode. I have a Stinkor still in the package.
Nice.
Somewhere. Yeah. Because I bought it as a birthday or Christmas present for my cousin, and then never gave it to him, and I found it in my closet like 15 years later. So I was like, what the fuck? It was still wrapped in the wrapping paper.
Wow.
Still had the Kmart sticker on it.
Wow.
It was like $5.
You can make some money off that.
I know. I gotta find it and see if I can get some. If I can sell it, I might.
Yeah.
But So, what other highlights did you guys see in this half?
Okay, for me, like all of episode 5 comes with everything you see here.
Yeah,
I fucking love that episode. That episode was 32 minutes of perfection.
Yeah.
And then you have Orko coming in with that awesome reveal. And it's like, I turned into an 8-year-old kid when Orko showed up. I was like, fuck yeah! Yeah! Because Orko went out like a fucking pimp in the first one.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And he comes back and then gives He-Man the power sword so they can restore the status quo. And then He-Man says, and of course, they have an issue with this. If you want to stand I got the actual line somewhere. It's something to the effect of, there is one behind me. There is one behind me. In regards to He-Man just taking up the mantle, just being badass as hell.
Yeah. And I mean, Griffin Newman is amazing as Orko. I'm just telling you, I mean, that, I don't know. Like I said, he was one of my favorite performances in the first half. So, yeah, and him coming back, and now he's, like, so badass because he's got his own, he's got self-confidence now because he sacrificed himself, he knows what he's doing, and he's kind of like, almost like a god now. He's kind of a master of the universe as well, you know? So it's like, you know, it's not just He-Man who's a fucking master. Anyway, so,
Well, that's because he was living in like Eternia the whole time, right?
Yeah, I think he died.
I think he was just completely dead. Wow. They rose him from the dead when they rose all the other, like, we had those like zombie type characters. Yeah.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
And then Evil-Lyn decides to rescue Orko, which again, another nice touch.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wonder how she did that. Maybe just from her sorcery powers or something, or
I think she just pulled him back. So
you could do. Okay. Lexi's pretty easy.
Yeah. You guys cool? You guys cool if we take a quick break here, really quick, and then we'll be right back.
No problem. Yeah.
Okay, we'll be right back.
What is Gen X? What is the silent generation? What do generations have in common? Hi, I'm Trish the Dish from the Gen X Voice podcast, and I invite you to listen to conversations I have with folks from different generations, backgrounds, beliefs, and experiences in an attempt to see what connects rather than divides us. Even though Gen X has been called slackers, Karens, or not mentioned at all in some cases, we are the bridge generation, so I feel compelled to do my part to destroy ageism by bringing all these voices together. And, as a bonus, each guest gets to answer some 80s questions at the end of each show. So download and listen to Gen X Voice today on Apple, Spotify, Amazon, or wherever you listen to podcasts. And let's see how much we have in common after all.
Hi, this is Catherine, host of a new fashion podcast, The Real Fashion School Dropout. Join me as I interview guests every week in the fashion and beauty space, and we gossip on all things fashion and beauty, and even get into some personal stories of their journey in the industry. You can find us on Apple, Spotify, pretty much wherever you get your podcast. Hope to see you there.
And we are back. Okay, so yeah. Yeah, like we were saying, Orko is like awesome. Anyway, so but yeah, what other things did you guys find really like cool in these episodes?
The animation, like I said earlier, I thought that was really cool. The length of the episodes I thought were really good, especially the episode 5. I thought that was a perfect amount of time. Evil-Lyn, obviously, like we said, I liked her becoming, master of the universe, and how she came to her conclusions that the universe was like empty, because she had like a vision where she said she witnessed the death of God in the beginning of time. I don't really know much about the lore of that story, but it's like a snake bit the eagle or something, the phoenix or whatever. Yeah.
It was interesting, like the colors they used for all those metaphors too. Like the snake looked like Cringer, and
yeah, I was wondering about that.
And the bird looked like the sorceress.
So that's the other thing too. She looked like the sorceress when she looked in the water. She didn't see herself. She saw the original sorceress, I think, didn't she? And so she was like having like almost like a mushroom trip or something. And then that's when he had her. I don't know. I just like Evil-Lyn as a character. I know we already went over that, but
yeah, just
her rationale of like Skeletor wanted, he just wanted to rule. His whole mission was just to kill HeMan. I mean, it was such a simple thing if you think about it. Like, you're going to use all this power you've wasted, like, how many years of your life, to accomplish just one goal, and then for what? I mean, just seemed very fleeting. And
to what? Kill HeMan?
Yeah,
and I like that Evil-Lyn directly calls him on that. Like,
yeah, like seriously, dude. Like, this is your life purpose. Like, and then obviously she's got all this trauma. We don't really know much of Skeletor's backstory. We don't really know what made him the way he is, or maybe he just always been that way.
I mean, we did get a little bit of influence there too. Like the costume he's wearing when we first see him in the Gutter Rat episode. Where he first encounters Evil-Lyn, the colors and part of his costume are Horde, like colors and costuming, and then we find out at the end that the motherboard thing is connected to Hordak and the Horde.
Oh, it's interesting.
So I'm thinking that he was probably a servant of Hordak, or like, you know, or like his right-hand man or something like that. And we'll probably find that out if we get a season 2.
Right.
I mean, too.
And apparently Kevin Smith has to beg for it.
Yeah. I saw that. Yeah. That was like, really, no, he's not begging for it. He was just saying, fingers crossed for a season 2.
Yeah.
Like anybody does at the end of their first season for a TV show.
Exactly.
Oh my God. Come on, guys. This is getting stupid.
All right.
Because like,
all right. Anyway, let's bring up another point.
Yeah,
I love how this show has the tone of a Saturday morning cartoon, but for adults.
Yeah,
like for example, the use of alliteration, like Skeletor saying "transcendent triumph" or something like that. Glittering boob, a direct callback to the original cartoon.
Yeah,
and again, it's like, oh my God. And they think this is the worst show ever. Like, that's the most pandering fan service you can possibly do. Have them say glittering boob.
Yeah. And I mean, talk about good performances too. I mean, you got Mark Hamill there as Skeletor in this.
Yeah.
And, I mean, he's good. I mean, I will say he's kind of aping his Joker persona for this Skeletor persona, but he does give a little bit more nuances to it that he didn't have in Joker, but you know, it's you can't not hear Joker in his performance. So.
Exactly. Speaking of good performances, Dietrich Bader as King Randor.
I know, it's hard to imagine that was him.
Yeah, the same guy who was Oswald and Drew Carey in the construction worker in Office Space.
Yeah, gives
out this is crushing this one scene he's in where he apologizes to Prince Adam.
Yeah,
and I'm like, holy fuck, he's a good actor. And I'm not just saying that because he liked one of my tweets. No, he's actually really good.
Yeah, and I mean, Alicia Silverstone as the Queen as well. So, I mean, it's just...
Yeah, I didn't realize it until Twitter brought up something to the fact that she said as if. I was like,
yeah,
that's Alicia Silverstone?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
I mean, and the thing is, like I said, Dietrich Bader is a really great voiceover artist. I mean, he was, you know, Batman and Brave and the Bold and stuff and everything. He's an underrated actor overall, in my opinion. Yeah. I mean, he's a great comedic actor, but he showed his dramatic chops in this here really well.
Mm-hmm. I'd like to see him I'd like to see him do more dramatic work, actually.
Me too. I mean, if I had my way, I would cast him in a movie as a dramatic actor. So if you're listening to this by any chance, Dietrich Bader, you know, it's Mike@cullenpark.com. Go ahead and send me an email. Anyway, so
is that the guy? Is he like a tall guy with like black, kind of somewhat curly hair?
Yeah, he was on the Drew Carey show.
Yeah.
He was the friend.
He was Oswald and Drew Carey.
Yeah, he was the friend who wasn't Ryan Stiles. So.
Gotcha. I think he was also in the show called Outsourced that I really liked.
Oh yeah, he was on that. Yeah,
he was really great in that one too.
Yeah, and he was also in what was he? Wasn't he in Napoleon Dynamite?
Yeah,
he did.
Yeah,
it's like very brief though.
Yeah,
if I remember correctly,
he was like a kung fu
he was
guitar guy. Yeah.
He was also in one episode of Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, I think. I think. Help me on that, but I think he was.
That's a good pull. Anyway, so
yeah.
So yeah, the voice acting overall in this series is just really great. I think.
Yeah.
I
don't know who Chris Wood is, but he absolutely nails Prince Adam.
Oh, he's good. I'm a fan, and I know Matt was too. Of Supergirl, and he was.
I'm hit or miss on Supergirl.
Yeah, he was on there as Mon-El for a couple seasons, and he's also married to Supergirl in real life. So.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah. Kevin was at their wedding and everything, so he's really good friends with him. So that's how he got the role. I'm pretty sure. So.
It's nice to have connections.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, he also is a good actor. I mean, he brought humanity to Mon-El on Supergirl that I really thought was cool. Yeah. Like, you know, a depth to the character that could have just been like kind of a Superman wannabe. Yeah.
And then Sarah Michelle Gellar, the evil, woke, lesbian Teela, which has been totally disproven. I'm in the minority here in saying I actually think she did really good here.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I like her.
Given what she's given.
I mean, I'm always been a big fan of her since Buffy and before, and even too, you know. So, but it's just, it's like, you know, yeah. I love her in this show, but the whole time I'm listening to her, though, I know it's Sarah Michelle Gellar.
Yeah,
if that makes sense. I mean, I think her performance is great, but it's still, I'm just like, that's Buffy. You know,
it's not like Alicia Silverstone, where she says it as if I'm like, holy shit, that's Alicia Silverstone.
Yeah.
I didn't put two and two together.
Or Dietrich Bader, who you're just like, that's Dietrich Bader? Really? You know, that sort of thing, yeah.
Yeah. But, I mean, yeah, maybe I'm in the minority too, but I mean, Teela was like one of my favorite. Maybe it was, quote, the Teela show, but okay, fine. I mean, I liked it. So.
Teela has an actual character arc. She grows as a human being.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean that's the thing. And I mean, and Adam has a character arc. Randor has a character arc. There's I mean there's the issue with showing the fact that their kid died and the king and queen are having marital issues. You know, it's like that's kind of which exactly. You would have if you lost your child.
And going back to Rise of Skywalker, I don't want to beat this dead horse again. Like, Rey has no character arc, because the moment she picks up the lightsaber and says she's Rey Skywalker, there was an audible groan in my theater. Like, the loudest audible groan you will ever hear in a theater. And I went to Franklin Park Mall because it's always the most honest theater. They will tell you straight up how they feel.
Well, I was there. I saw it on Christmas Day in 2019. Like 2 months before the whole pandemic started and everything went crazy. But anyway, yeah, it was just like everyone in the theater was walking out just bickering, like it was bullshit.
Yeah, my theater opening night with like Chewie cosplayers and shit. It was like a funeral procession walking out. No applause. Everybody was just stone-faced silent. Like, what did we just watch? Let's fucking leave.
Yeah, I mean, my reaction the first time I saw it was like, what the fuck? Basically, I mean, and that movie, that was totally, like you said, pandering bullshit. And,
yeah.
And I mean, whatever, if you liked it, cool. But,
yeah, that's how I am too.
Yeah, but I mean, of that series, if we want to touch on that really quickly, I mean, I think The Last Jedi was the strongest of those three movies. And most people are like, a lot of the like core fans are like, oh, I hate that movie because it emasculates Luke Skywalker, which they're totally misunderstanding.
No, it doesn't.
It doesn't. That's what I'm saying. They're fucking idiots. So
it shows him with flaws.
Yeah.
It shows him with flaws. It gives him character depth. I think it's Mark Hamill's best performance.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm a huge Rian Johnson fan too, but still, it's just, anyways, there was just no cohesion to that series.
No, there isn't.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I read the Colin Trevorrow's script for Duel of the Fates, and I'm like, this could have been good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it has issues. It's clearly a first draft, but yeah, this would have been the great Star Wars movie if we actually got this. And evil woke Kathleen Kennedy. I don't get that fucking hate either.
No.
Kathleen Kennedy has caved so much to toxic fandom.
Yeah.
And apparently she's this evil bitch who just wants to push an agenda. Like, no, she's caving to you guys.
Yeah, and
she did the Rogue One scene with Luke Skywalker at the end of the season 2 of The Mandalorian.
Yeah.
Right. That's the question I always ask them. I never get an answer, which is interesting enough. It's almost like they don't have an answer. But I always say, well, okay, so when you watch these movies, shows that you think are like an idyllic past, everything was perfect before these woke feminists and woke gay people and woke trans, but whatever. Like, I get it. You hate these people and you wish they were dead. Okay, cool. We understand. We know your position, and you probably are fascist. We get it. Okay, cool. We established that. But so what are you then saying when those movies are they pushing an agenda? Mm-hmm. Like, so what you're saying is you're okay with an agenda. It just has to be an agenda you happen to agree with. And again, fine. Own it. Admit it. We're on the same page. We understand. Fine. But when you're dishonest about it, doesn't seem very masculine to me. To me, a masculine person would be like, no, I do believe this. Fuck you. Or maybe not fuck you, but I'm going to stand my ground. This is what I believe. I'm not going to be smarmy and go, well, actually, maybe. No, that's not what I imagine a masculine person would do. I would imagine a masculine person to just stand up and say, here's what I believe. Either you agree or disagree, but I'm not changing my position. But maybe they have a different idea. Maybe their definition of masculinity is going on Twitter and making 5-hour-long YouTube videos about, wow, man, purple hair lady, bad, stuff like that. So that's fine. That's what they believe. That's their masculinity. That's awesome, I guess. It's not, but okay.
Yep.
And I get, sometimes I get wrapped up.
No, it's cool.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's like, and it's like, Gonzo wore a dress in the fucking Muppet Babies thing, so now the world's gonna end. But anyways.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
It's the man.
Gonzo! Fucking Gonzo!
Oh my God.
Yeah, I can't, what was it? There was recently, like, Josh Mandel, who's running for, office in the state of Ohio, said something, he said the worst thing about the country right now is the fact that Superman is bisexual in the comic book.
Oh wow!
Yes, and even that's not even Clark Kent.
It's Jonathan. It's Jonathan Kent. Yeah. And my thing with it is, it's like, you mean to tell me the worst thing about our country right now is a comic book character's arc in the story? It's just like, what the fuck?
Well, Kevin Smith, fictional characters.
Yes.
Do you understand? Are you getting this at all?
Yeah.
It's this could go into like another whole conversations, but a lot of this stuff is connected about like the anti-woke comic book stuff, and it all plays into this narrative of culture war. I wish I can. I gotta find this quote and always keep it on hand with me at all times because it explains things so perfectly. There's this, I think it was a French guy or wrote a book about politics. I don't remember, but basically there's this quote in the book that basically says when politicians and parties are unable to actually answer the needs of the people, you'll find that they'll start focusing less and less on actual policies, but they'll amplify cultural signifiers that pit people against each other, and that's what we're seeing happening. It's like it's all culture war bullshit. It's
going back to the whole Lil Nas X thing where he did the Call Me By Your Name video, and around that same time, Tony Hawk was pushing some edgelord water company that urges you to sell your soul for mediocre bottled canned water.
Yeah.
And there was no outrage about that.
No.
Wow.
But,
I think it was like Liquid Death or some shit like that.
Oh, yeah. But Tony Hawk is a straight white man. Anyway, so
I did like Tony Hawk's the game that came out, like one of the early games. Like for PlayStation or whatever. That was really cool.
Tony Hawk Pro Skater.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. So
I have the whole Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 and 2 playlist on Spotify that I will usually put on when I'm driving. They have like the whole playlist of those songs from Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 and 2, and that's usually one of my go-tos.
That's awesome, man.
Plus, he was Peter Fonda's stunt double in Escape from L.A. So,
Really?
He was Peter Fonda's stunt double in the movie Escape from L.A.
Wow, I did not know that. That's interesting.
Yeah, you can obviously tell in a few of the scenes where he's surfing, and it's Tony Hawk surfing. Anyway, so
wow,
just randomness that popped into my head. But anyways, okay. So this series, I think it ends on a great beat where it basically sets up a great season 2, which will be about
just
the Horde.
like how part 1 set up the already badass part 2.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that I really hope that we get a second season. Who knows? I mean, I don't know what the ratings are like on. The thing is it doesn't matter at all why people are watching this. If they
Yeah.
hate watching it, it's still getting views. And
Yeah, take a look at the whole Red Notice thing going on right now, where
Yeah.
Netflix is bragging about how it's the most watched thing ever on their channel, and by what metric exactly?
yeah,
Like, I don't really hear people talking about it. I have a review in the can for it, and I thought it was fine.
Yeah,
It's a lighthearted action romp. Like,
I plan to.
It's not like
I plan to watch
hashtag
it just
worst
because
movie
I
ever.
like. I plan to watch it just because I like the actors in it, but
Yeah.
I'm not expecting it to be, you know, the Citizen Kane of action movies or anything.
yeah.
But
It's not hashtag worst movie ever when I watched some 10-year-old rich kid shoot pool balls at a guy without a job.
Yeah.
Okay?
oh god, that was a
That's
great movie.
another 20-minute video I'm working on.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah,
I-
a couple of weeks ago we covered that, and yeah, that was fun.
I laid out the case that he's a sociopath, probably going to be a serial killer in the future by all of the ways that he liked inflicting pain on these people. It seemed very suspicious.
Yeah. I even said the kid from Fat Man. I don't know if you guys have ever heard the movie Fat Man, where Mel Gibson is like John Wick Santa Claus.
I've heard
The
of
kid from Fat Man is less evil than this kid is.
Wow.
And he straight up hires a hitman to kill Santa Claus.
Oh Jesus!
Because he didn't get his way.
Whoa.
Yeah, make sure you guys listen to our other thing about a sadistic kid, but it's like in a good way. Is Deadly Games, aka 3615 code Pierre Noel. So
Yeah.
it's just it's a movie that's basically Home Alone before Home Alone, a French
Yeah.
film. So yeah, it's definitely worth watching though, that movie. So it's on
I
Shudder.
think I saw that pop up actually.
Yeah, it's-
on your feed.
Yeah,
It's a really good movie.
it's a real good movie. It's on AMC Plus or Shudder. You can watch it on there.
Yeah, I usually find a lot of good stuff on there.
Yeah, and it was fun. It was a fun fever dream of a film. Anyways, but that kid actually had a point of view as opposed to the kid in Home Alone, Home Sweet Home
Yeah.
Alone. But anyways, so this really does. But back to Masters. It does set up. I really like that they tied back in that whole motherboard thing.
Triclops in the motherboard.
Yeah, and tied it in here at the end where you basically get this oh fuck thing from Skeletor at the end where he's just like, oh shit, this world's gonna, get
Mhm.
worse. And yeah, and the Horde were basically kind of the bad guys on She-Ra. So
Yeah.
so
I'm not that versed on Masters of the Universe. Like I said, I was more of a G.I. Joe Transformers kid.
I'm not as versed as I used to be. I mean, when I was a kid, I was big into the HeMan and She-Ra stuff. But I tried to go back and rewatch a few years ago when they brought the both of those to Netflix for a while.
Yeah.
I started rewatching and I was like, I couldn't make it past a couple episodes. I was like, oh my
I
god.
was born in 1984, so He-Man's kind of a little
Yeah.
bit past my time.
Yeah, I was born in 1977, so it was right in my, sweet spot of stuff. So it was basically my, it was my Paw Patrol. And
Yeah. Just like how Ninja Turtles was my Paw Patrol.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And Ghostbusters.
Yeah. Yeah, Ghostbusters. I was into that too, though, because I watched animated shows up until I was in high school. So I was like, every day after school watching, DuckTales and shit.
Did you know that there was another cartoon called Ghostbusters that had nothing to do?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
What's the story behind that? I don't want to derail too much, but what's the?
So Filmation had a live action show called Ghostbusters back in the late 70s or so.
Okay.
That was before the movie Ghostbusters came out. So they weren't sure what they were going to call the movie in 1984. But they wanted to call it Ghostbusters. They found out somebody owned the rights to that name. They paid Filmation for the rights to the name. But then Filmation wanted to produce the animated version of the show of the movie. They passed on that, went to Deke to have them produce it. And so in retaliation, sort of, Filmation decided, hey, we own this other property called Ghostbusters. Let's release this at the same time. That's why the Deke version is called The Real Ghostbusters. So you know it's the one based on the movie. So yeah.
And oddly enough, that was my entry point into Ghostbusters, The Real Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
Wow.
But my life is so intrinsically tied to Ghostbusters, as that was the movie my parents saw before they had me. So, if it weren't for Ghostbusters, I probably wouldn't be here. Like, they had me shortly after they watched Ghostbusters.
That's nice. So yeah, and I wish I could say that my parents watched Star Wars and then had me in '77, but
yeah,
my dad probably has never seen a Star Wars movie. So but anyways, any other thoughts here, guys, before we like wrap things up and stuff?
But yeah, I really love the hell out of Masters of the Universe Revelation. I just dug it completely. There was never a dull moment during the show where I was like, okay, let's pick this up a little. Whereas during the first episode of Cowboy Bebop, yeah, the action sequences were cool. But at the same time, I was like, let's pick this up a little.
Yeah.
And apparently there's a Tiger King too, and I'm so glad time is on my side on that, because I did a negative review of Tiger King 2, and everybody was like, fuck you, Ryan. I'm like, and it turns out Tiger King 2 sucks. And Netflix is trying to milk it dry.
Oh, of course.
Wow.
They'll milk anything. I mean, that's just what you do. And I mean, and the thing with Netflix too, when it comes to like this show or any other show, they don't have to release their viewership either. So
yeah,
it's kind of sad that we don't know how many people have watched Masters or how many people have watched Tiger King or how many people.
It's going back to the whole Red Notice thing where they're trying to make this a thing when there's no concrete numbers.
Yeah, because they can say all they want that Red Notice is the most watched movie on the platform, but we don't know for sure that it is. I mean, I don't see why they would lie about it necessarily, but you know, they could if they wanted to. Yeah. And because I mean, there's several shows that were really good on Netflix that get canceled after one season, or after other things for different reasons. Like, I'm still pissed off that they canceled Glow after season 3.
Yeah, I really dug Glow.
Yeah, and I understand that contracts and COVID played a lot into that.
Yeah,
but my thing is like, you can still pick it up with a movie or something,
exactly,
and end it. So,
because,
yeah,
go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say because it was a great show, and I mean it kind of had an ending, but I still want to see where these girls.
Yeah, it's one of those things where you could easily resolve it with like a Netflix movie, and it'll probably be a big thing.
Yeah. But anyways, any final thoughts, Matt, on Revelation, I should say.
Just no, I mean, just the fact that I do think the pacing was really good. I never felt like an episode was going on for too long. It really did seem like time was kind of moving a little bit faster than normal. So I thought that was. I mean, I don't know if Kevin Smith had anything to do with that, because it seems like he's really good at doing that with his movies. But I don't know if he had a hand in that aspect of the show. But other than that, yeah, I mean, I think we covered everything. I was not really a HeMan fan, but I think I am now just from watching this. So
it's one of the easiest shows to binge.
Yeah, it is. 'Cause I usually don't binge shows ever. It's not my style.
Yeah, I watched the first episode one day, and then the next day I watched the last 4 because I was like, you know, when I watched the first half, I watched it all in one sitting. And then I watched this because I watched the first episode, and then I was just really tired. So but then the next day I picked it up, and I was like, sat there, and I was like, oh, it's over?
Yeah.
I was just like, what the hell? I wanted more. So, but it ended on a good, you know, I'm just saying I wanted more, but it ended solidly.
I definitely want more from this.
Yeah. And let's hope that we do get more, and hopefully we'll be able to revisit it when it comes out. So, Ryan, what where can people find you if they're? I know you mentioned at the beginning, but where can people find you if they're interested in your photography or your YouTube videos or anything like that?
Yeah, you can find me at www.newrealmsmedia.com. I'm going to try and make an effort to edit that website because I really haven't had time to do that. But across all social media, Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, Instagram, TikTok, you can find me at Newrealms Media, all one word.
Okay, cool. And I'll put some links to that in the show notes for this episode, too, so people can find you.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts here, Matt, before we wrap things up?
No.
Okay. Well, people, you can find us everywhere online. The best way to find us is all2real2.com. Also, if you have any suggestions for any future episodes or want to talk to us, send me a message at mike@cullenpark.com. Give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or anywhere that you can. Share the show with a couple friends. That helps us, get out there. Wear a mask, folks. We still, when you go out, Also, wear a condom.
I just got my booster shot last week.
Awesome. Yeah,
doing my part.
Yes. And make sure you guys do that too. I got to go get my booster soon. I'm hoping to in the next few days. And but until next time, folks. Bye-bye.
Thanks for having me, Mike.
Oh, thanks you very much, Ryan, again. And bye-bye.
See you next time.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to All Too Real 2 podcast, a Cullen Park production. Produced and edited by Michael E. Cullen II. Music by Matthew Hawes. Subscribe and share the show. Visit us at cullenpark.com.